What's up? If you're new to this channel, my name is Arliss. My channel is called Bespoke Budget Builds, and really the goal for this channel is just to inspire people to go after their dreams and build cool stuff. More and more it's become increasingly harder to build stuff because it's just so expensive. It's so expensive to hire people, and I've found through my experience that if you're willing to learn how to do things yourself, and sometimes that's calling a friend that really knows what they're doing, and be creative about the materials you use, that you can build almost anything in a way that is actually affordable. And so I started this channel off with a massive project, the biggest project I've done to date. I used to be in residential remodels, and I moved to a different city and took on a new role, new job, and I've been for the last year working on the project that I'm in front of right now. And so I'm going to show you some B-roll of this house. It's in the dry, which just means that it's weatherproofed from the outside. It looks like it's finished pretty much on the outside. We have yet to do a lot on the inside, but I wanted to make a video just to show you the progress I have so far. And so if you're interested in this kind of stuff, please like and subscribe to my channel and turn on the notifications and all that YouTube stuff. But I am in this project so far for under $25,000, which I am super proud of. Half of that, literally half of that, is the land that this is setting on. And so a little later on in the video, I'm going to give you a breakdown of the budget, and also in the description there'll be a link to all the things that I've spent money on. But you might say, wow, how did you do that? Well, the truth is very little of the money that was spent was inside of a Lowe's or a Home Depot or a lumberyard. Most of it, the vast majority of stuff I've bought for this project has been off of Facebook Marketplace. And so I'm going to cue you up to me, past Arliss, about a year ago, explaining this project now. This project, I've got a very specific box I'm living in. I've done tons and tons of remodel work, kitchens, bathrooms, whatever, additions, all that stuff, but I've never built a house from scratch. I'm trying to do this as cheap as possible, and I watch all kinds of videos where people say that, they say, budget build, and their version of that is not my version of that. Most of everything I'm going to get will either be free, and I've been kind of stockpiling some stuff over the last year, literally, either free, Facebook Marketplace, or something to that extent. But I'm building this, I'm doing as much of it as I can myself. That means electric, HVAC for the most part. I've got somebody that might come in and help me because I don't have some of the tools. Plumbing, maybe I already said that, but that's really kind of the parameters I've set on myself. So here is what I'm building. This is kind of a preliminary. I'm not going to pull lines or anything off this drawing, but it's just kind of a rough thing. But first thing I did was kind of get a rough layout. You can kind of see the string, and made a perimeter, and the rest of it used to look, dense like this. I'm out here trying to figure out where to lay out the foundation, lay out the house. Something that stuck with me, I followed Patina Farm. It's a designer and an architect, husband and wife, and they have this amazing home. And they said something that stuck with me about, they centered the whole thing around this one massive tree in the backyard. And the way it's set up is you walk through the front door, or you can see through the front door to the back door and to actually see that tree. And obviously what I'm building here is nothing compared to that, but I am trying to think through how the trees that I want to keep are going to lay out with the openings, I'm trying to think about it, and I think I've narrowed it down to centering the opening, the front door, right there, in between those two trees. And that works pretty good too with my other windows. I'm just walking around trying to figure out how it affects other parts of the house, other parts of the layout, make sure that I'm not missing something. So the way that this goes is you build corners outside of where your corner is going to be, and this is like all of it. You want to have 18 inches of crawl space wherever, but there's no plumbing or anything on this side. And so I'm going to start at 3.5 inches off the ground. I'm just going to lay the board here, then level it out. This is the high corner, so you start at the high corner, at least the way I was taught. Start at the high corner, get your minimum depth and then work from there. So I'm just going to do it. We might speed it up. Wanted to give you an idea of just the layout of the property, but you see that pole there, right where that marker is, right there in the middle of my screen. It's kind of the edge of my property line. It's 1 acre, and it's like 212 wide, and it goes back, I don't remember, but anyway, that's kind of the end of it. It's got a row of trees up front, and then there's that utility easement, and right here, the end of it, the corner post is about right there. And I'm putting a driveway in right between those two stakes. So the plan would be have a driveway. I'm gonna have to cut down this hill a little bit. Have your driveway, it'll enter straight in. The house will be pretty much there. It'll be centered between those two trees right in the middle of my screen. And then probably just an entry side, like a sidewalk leading up to the porch and all that. And then the house will be in this area. It's pretty flat right here. Reasonably flat for where I'm at. You can tell by how tall this is. And then that one's on the ground. Those are my corners. This is the front of the house in essence. And then my septic will go right where that big log is pretty much. The tank will be right there. And then on the lateral lines will go down, and you can't really see, maybe you can see that corner. There's the corner, fence corner, and that's the property boundary. Where I'm at is not a huge place, and if you know Facebook Marketplace, if you live out in the sticks, you have to drive to the nearest city really to get all the deals. And for me, it's Northwest Arkansas, which is like where Walmart headquarters is, and there's a few cities that are over, 100,000 people or whatever, and then Tulsa is kind of my next closest thing. And I get a lot from a smaller place called Muskogee that's like 25 miles from me. But driving through here, I love this road. It's fun, but it's not as fun with a truck and a trailer. These next few clips are just examples of the way that I acquired materials for this project. What's up? I just arrived for my first pickup for today. I've scheduled 3 since I've started on this little journey. And this is way better than I expected. Let me turn the camera and I'll show you everything. Look at all this. I thought it was just one pile, and I showed up and the guy said, no, it's all 3 of these piles. So here's everything I've gotten today. I got that door for $40. There's a little bit more than I would hope to pay for it, but it's hard to find these doors that are in that good a shape that are straight, because I may end up using these 1-panel doors, the old door, throughout. I need 6 of them. And then I've got all this kind of, you can see how thick that is, but it's 2x6s and 2x4s, different lengths. And then the whole bed of the truck is full of the same stuff, but a little shorter. And then a bunch of these 1x. And I'll get, when I go back, I'm going to pick up the rest of it. And he had mostly just like rough sawn oak, something I'd use for fence posts. Maybe, I don't know, I didn't really need them, but you can't resist. And then I got my disconnect. How's that open? Yeah, there it is. So that's good. This was only, I paid $50 for this. And this is what I'll put on the pole. It'll go, the meter base will be on it, and then below it will be my line out for service, and then one, we'll probably put just an outlet on it to use, I don't know, obviously for temporary service, but then I'll probably just leave it, because why not? So anyway, that's what I got. I'm almost home. All right, so here's my haul from today, just filling up with gas. I got this for free because it's obviously jacked up, but all I wanted was just a sink. All right, so kind of here's a layout of what's going to go on, but I think I might just start down here, work my way this way. So every 8 feet of a pier. So anyway, I'm going to start in this corner and dig my first hole for my pier and work my way this way across this front line. So here's the string all the way that direction, and I'll start over in that corner.
I decided to go with the pier and beam, one because I like that style of foundation, but also to do the work required to pour a slab right here would have been incredibly expensive and a lot more work than this is. Right here you see me using a bandsaw at the back of my truck to cut the rebar for the piers.
Well, it certainly feels good to be finished with at least this section of piers. Well, I'm back on site here today, and I'm excited because today I'm going to start putting up the posts for the foundation.
At the time of this video, I've not yet had any of the utilities actually ran, but here's a breakdown of what's involved. And honestly, this is the biggest expense in the whole thing. So I paid $12,000 for this 1 acre lot, and then $650 to close on it. Another $100 for the floodplain permit, which also gives us a 911 address. And then I paid $200 for a perk test, that's for septic. And then I put down a deposit for my power, which was $340, and the total cost for my power will be $1,600 to get hooked up. The guy that came out to tell me about it said it would be 10 grand if I didn't have a pole on site, and that's why one of the reasons I picked this lot. For water, and this one's kind of hard to bear, but it cost $1,850 just to hook up to the real water. But I need somebody to bore under the road because the tap is on the other side of the road, and that was going to cost me $2,500. There's $500 for a septic permit, and that's me doing it myself. And then I already bought the tank. It's $1,100 as a plastic tank, and then I'll probably have another $1,000 in other stuff for the septic. So just a lot, and utility work. The total is about $21,500. So far, no utilities have been installed to build this in the dry, and with all the plumbing, electrical, erupt-in, insulated, I've got less than $26,000 in the whole project. And that includes a ton of things that you don't see that are setting in storage. For instance, tile and wood floors, countertops, cabinets, doors, trim, etc., you know.
I wanted to show you kind of what we've got going on, the whole situation. So I've poured a pier. It's 1 foot by 1 foot. It goes down 18 inches to 2 feet, depending on how far I could go. I've got a 4x4 post, treated lumber. The post hardware in the bottom is in the concrete. We put it in while it was wet. And then this top cap, I think is what it's called, It'll set on like that. I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to start with layout and just kind of double checking everything, and I'll show you what I've got going on. I'm going to put, there'll be a double beam in the front, in the middle, in the back to kind of replace normal pier and beam where you put a 4x6 or something over this, and then you just stack floor joist over it however you want, and then put blocking. I'm going to forego the 4x6 and just double this up. I'm about to cut my 2 boards here to start my layout. I'm starting the front, and then I'm going to attach the side. So I've got one 16-foot board. It's a little over. I'm about to cut it. And then I'm going to double up the front. I'm going to double up the middle. I'm going to double up the back. And so I'm about to figure out, okay, how long do my floor joists need to be? And so that's what you're about to see me do here. So I probably won't talk a lot about it. I'm just going to get in here and get it done. First, I'm going to go get some earplugs because that's very important. I'm going to stop here for a minute and just kind of show you my process for working with some kind of gnarly looking lumber. I know you see this on video and you're like, oh, what in the world is he using? That looks like absolute garbage. And the truth is there are parts of some of what I'm using that are absolute garbage. And you have to use around those parts. I just wanted to show you kind of what I'm doing. This is probably one of the worst boards I've got. So I've got this old Doug fir, I believe. I don't know if you can tell. It's got a lot of nails in the top there. But look at that pattern. This is this is select, man. This is riff sawn. It's very stable. It's a pretty good board. This end, see that? And so I'll cut that split part off of that hole. This other end's pretty good. I'll cut from that, cut that end off, measure, cut, and then I'll pull the nails off. But I'm going to set this up on time lapse, and you'll see me nail the first wall together. This is exciting stuff. Well, I got the wall raised. That's a good feeling. This is kind of heavy one. 2x6s are no joke. Well, this is where I got to. I got all the exterior walls framed up for the most part. Well, I've got everything framed up in terms of the interior walls. They're all just kind of tacked in place for now. Everything is, because I want to get this whole assembly square and plumb. And so this is what I've got going on. You can see in the middle of my screen, got a ratchet strap, another ratchet strap hooked up to there, and I've clamped my level, and I'm looking at the bubble, which you can't see from here, but that's how I'm getting it square and plumb.
I ended up changing the plans. That opening that you see to the right of the screen was supposed to just be a back door, like a patio door, but it ended up being a walk-in pantry. Here as we turn around, this is the bedroom, but I'll tell you more about that here in a little bit. Right now you see me top plating this whole thing. This is what holds it together and keeps it strong and gets your final height too as well. And so I'm just going around through here top plating all these walls.
Well, I got all the top plating done. I've got all the blocking in, and now I'm going to work on stuff under the house, under the foundation. All right, so here's the situation that I ended up with. I've got these 2x12s ran next to the post, and they're extra support for the floor joist above and lateral support, that direction. So kind of accomplishing two things. So I'm in this bedroom, there's the stump, and I've got a double, marks kind of the center of the building there. I'm going to use kind of a 2x4 and screw it up there and see what it looks like, because I'm not entirely sure. I don't want to go too steep of a roof line, but I don't want it to look like a surf shack. So I think I'll probably put up on time lapse and show you that, but I'm gonna put a board there and then one behind where I'm standing so I can figure out my line. So you saw me in the time lapse with this temp rafter up there. This is going to be my template, and I've just got it clamped on that board. That's the peak. It's 4 foot up from the top plate. I just kind of picked that number because I want to be easy to work with overhead.
I realize this is kind of a weird way to do this, but it's been my experience that I can look at the rafter tables or use a speed square and do the math, but it never seems to quite be right. And so I've had good success by just making a template and adjusting it until I get it perfect. So that's what you see me do here.
All right, I want to show you what I've got done so far. I've got this peak frame. That board up there, that ridge board, is probably the most satisfying board I've used to date. And the reason is because it symbolizes the dedication that I've had to something like this. I really didn't know I was going to do this 3 years ago, but I saw a couple of those boards on the side of the road that were left over from road crew. I know that because they treat them like that with oil. And I stopped and turned around and got it and thought, I don't have a use for this yet, but I'm planning something. And that, I think it was probably one of the first boards that I set aside and kind of got into this idea of just buying used stuff, cheap stuff, cool lumber, and using the best of it, whatever, any means possible to build something. It was about the time that lumber prices were getting crazy out of control, and I was still doing residential remodel work. And so that ridge board is kind of significant to me, maybe not to anybody else, but it was very satisfying to actually put a mark on that thing and cut it and lay out these rafters.
What you're seeing me do right here is lay out the vault for this bedroom. And originally I hadn't planned on doing this, but I didn't have any material that was long enough just to span it the flat way like you normally would. And so it became a design detail that I took onto the other bedroom as well.
Well, I got all that framed in. I've got the rafter ties for the most part. There's a few places where I'm going to have to wait till I take out the supports, but it really won't matter. I think what I'm going to do now is probably frame in these, what am I trying to say here? Frame in the gable walls.
Right now you're seeing me pour some piers to add on to the back of the house. A little bit later on, I decided I wanted to add that walk-in pantry and a sort of dining nook, and then extend out the laundry room as well. And so this is what I'm doing here, just adding on to that. At this point in the build, I decided to add this nook for the dining room, but I hadn't added the walk-in pantry. You're going to see that a little bit later, but I don't think I actually have footage of me building it.
For the rest of the day, I'm going to start on laying out the front porch. I dug the holes for the piers the other day. I'm going to end up making the porch 7'6", almost 8 foot. And right now it's just 7, but this is kind of what I got going on.
You may notice right now I'm not using a generator, but I'm actually using a little solar generator that I built. You can see it right there in the middle of the screen. And if you want to watch the video about that, I think it cost me like $120 or something. I will link it and put a card on screen right now. Well, I got all the posts up. I got the ledger board, the rafter, rim joist, whatever I'm trying to say. Here I'm laying out the rafters for the porch, and these are those 3x4 oak posts that I was talking about earlier that I got in essence for free, so that's always a good thing. I really like the look of these. They're circular sawn like on an old sawmill and just look great once you get them sanded down a little bit and get some stain on them. So here's what you end up with. These are pallet runners. I'm pretty sure it had not been used because there's no nail holes in them. But you can see this pattern is a lot different than my sawmill does because it's a circular blade. Mine's a bandsaw. Well, I'm here today at my friend Chris's house. As you can see, he's got the HM126, and we're going to cut some beams for the bedrooms. Right here you see my friend Chris. He just got this Harbor Freight backhoe, and we did an assembly video. It's actually my most viewed video at this point in time. I'll link it to, I'll put it on a card right now if you want to check that out. But I didn't show much of this digging, but it actually was surprisingly capable machine. We used it to dig the trench for power and water, and I used it also to cut the heel down for my driveway. Right now, this is my friend Trey cutting down what will become the big beam for the vaulted ceiling in the living room. It's like 21 feet long, something like that. And this is on my friend Chris's property. He donated this white oak to a worthy cause. We downed this big white oak tree
clearing out around it. I actually think we're probably going to use the Alaskan chainsaw mill to cut this beam. Here's the fireplace insert I bought the other day. I still got to get like logs for it. It was hard finding. I paid $40 for this. Not a lot has gone on in terms of video. I've done some stuff, but it's just been slow going. But anyway, for example, I got the conduit. It's 2-inch HDPE for the water line and the power. But in essence, I'm going to put this orange conduit in here, and the water will go out that way and then over to the connection over there. The power is going to go, it might be direct burial. I bought the conduit just in case it was cheap, 50 cents a foot, which is a smoking deal for where I'm at. I think that's about it. But I bought shingles. I'm going to go with architectural shingles. The color is weathered wood, and then the porch will be metal. Well, I've been busy, but none of it's been film worthy, and so let me just kind of give you an update of what is going on. I've been working on this machine quite a bit, and we got all this dug, as you saw. We've been filling it in. So this is day 2 that I've been working on the actual driveway. Let me show you it. And again, none of this is real film worthy, but here is what I've got. And then I'm going to I think I'll probably just leave it like this for now. Let the rain come and kind of pack it in, and then get the skid steer to finish it up. It's still kind of got a little bit of a hump right here and somewhere in that area. So here is the other side. To give context, here's the road. Well, I'm here today and I actually have help, which is awesome because I'm used to just kind of figuring it out myself. And we're about to do our best to drag it somewhat into place. I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty nervous when we did this. This is that beam, or the tree you saw. We cut it down into a beam. There's a video of us doing that. I'm also reviewing a chainsaw mill that I'll link in the card right now if you want to check it out. But this thing weighs probably 400 or 500 pounds, and we have 3 of us here and a couple of chain hoists maneuvering it into place. It was scary to say the least, but oh so worth it. Well, we got the beam in place. Well, we got this thing braced up. I added a bunch of just extra supports here and there and everywhere. Here's the beam. We got it started. Well, I've got some stuff to do this afternoon. We spent a few hours, got the beam in place. I'm just gonna leave the chain hoist in for now. And I'm so excited. This was a huge undertaking. I was really kind of nervous about how it was gonna go. We got some more of the trench filled in, and the power and the water roughed in its final, hopefully final location.
This is about, I don't know, a quarter mile down the road. This is the neighborhood pet elk. I was talking to the neighbors, and her name is Bessie. And the sad part is I've not seen any other elk, so she might be all by her lonesome. Hi, Bessie. Isn't that crazy? Well, it's been a minute since I have actually videoed anything. You can kind of see behind me there's quite a bit that I've done. I just made a decision because we're getting close to winter and I've really got to get this thing dried in. I was kind of held up by various things, and so I've done a ton of work and I didn't film it. Most of it was pretty repetitive and boring, so I'm going to give you an update on what I've done so far and kind of little details about it. And some of it you'll see later on because I don't have that part of the house going yet. I've got decking on. You can see house wrap or tar paper and some other stuff. But let me show you all the things that I've done that I have not filmed right now. But I went and got the roof. So that'll go on the front porch and the back of the house. And then I stained all this. I sheeted the house with OSB, and then I put on tar paper. Gives a picture of the roof, but I put OSB, 7/16 OSB on the roof decking. Hard for me to show you, but here is the gable vent. I also stained it, put some screen over the end of it, and this side of it is, pretty well ready to go. So right now I'm working on doing everything for the rafter tails, and this looks stinking awesome. I think I love it. I've decided I'm going to paint it. I'm not going to do any sort of overhang on the eaves or on the gable end. It'd be kind of like those Nantucket houses or whatever. A lot of modern farmhouse stuff I've seen do that too, and honestly I freaking hate doing soffit work. And so it's still quite a bit of work, but I love the look of that. We'll see how this goes. I might run out of space on my camera, but I'm setting up to do the siding on this side right now. And so what I've got these sheets of smart board. They're 4x8. We're gonna do board and batten. What I've done is nail a little ridge, thing I can stick the boards on right there.
And then we snapped the line. You can't really see it, but we went up 8 feet from where I want to go, made sure it was level, and snapped the line. And so I just set in these little stops right here and right there. Sorry if the audio is bad. I'm just trying to get this out. And I put 2 nails in it, checking my lines, and then also checking to make sure. You can't see it, but it's level. I've finished out most of the window trim, and these windows are super dirty. I need to clean them up. They're looking really bad. But I've added a little drip edge sort of detail here. It's on a little bit of an angle, just ever so slightly to shed water. But I put this trim up, and what I did is I just nailed it below temporarily and then scribed all the, it was really tedious, as you can tell. And so now I'm gonna show you what a finished section looks like. So here's the back of the house, and I've got this window trimmed up. There's the Z-bar that sheds water between the sheets. You gotta have stuff like that. But in essence, I've just put these on a 1 foot spacing and tried my best. This one's gonna suck because it's right up next to the window. Luckily it's the back of the house. But when you do this kind of thing, you gotta think about how it intersects with the window trim. Well, here's what I ended up with. My battery died on my phone, so didn't get to show you. I've still got to clean up the bottoms there, but there's the finished product. I've also got a little bit of paint on the wall, testing out a color, testing out a product, all that stuff. I'm actually thinking about using the recycled paint they sell at like Habitat for Humanity store or whatever. I'm not so sure I'm gonna do that yet, but it's pretty good. I was honestly surprised. Well, I apologize because I've been in such a mad dash to try to get this painted that I haven't really showed you any sort of the process of what I'm doing here. I just want to kind of give you an overview. But today it's just, I've got like 3 or 4 hours where it's 55 degrees or higher. And so that's about the lowest you can paint in. There's special paints you can buy that do better than that, I think, but I don't know anything about them and probably couldn't afford them anyway. But anyway, I've got this house sprayed at least 1 coat everywhere. And, you know, anytime you put the first coat up, you start seeing the places you missed and whatnot. And so I'm kind of looking at it with a critical eye. This porch was extremely hard, and I'll show you why. Because I've got how easy it is to see, but I had to mask and caulk all that off because the porch beams are stained. I've been masking off even the piers, because I hate that when you see that kind of thing. The way this is going to end up, and I don't think I've talked about this much, but I'm going to have 1x4s going along as sort of a skirting option. They'll come out, parallel with the wall. And inside of it, I think I'm going to do black tar paper to make it look black and to, it's moisture resistant, whatever. And then behind that, from the inside, I'm going to put like hardy board concrete sheets. I've got some siding that's just regular sheets of that. This is the walk-in pantry and then the little dining nook. So you can see those windows there. And then that's kind of the wild area because I'm going to continue to build on. But I really, for a while I was waiting on somebody. I was keeping this open so they could do septic. And now we've decided we're just going to build because he's going to be 2 or 3 months out. And we're going to cut a path for the bulldozer or the backhoe later. So he said it should be fine. To me, this is the most satisfying part of every paint job. Any paint job is tearing away the masking paper. Can't get it to focus. Nothing better than seeing those clean lines after all that hard, tedious work of prep. I built a door frame for this door. Let me show you the door again. But it's upside down, and it's a 12 light farmhouse style door. It's a pine door. So I didn't have a frame for it. So just built one. What I did is take 2x6s and ripped them down. So they're, I don't know, over an inch, but not much. And then I like it because it's one piece. You can do this stuff with 2 pieces, but it seems nicer when it's one piece. And so what you do is, after you plane it down, the dimension is about right. I took it and ran it through the table saw upright a little over this so that I have a slot to stick the weather stripping in. And then I did this sort of rabbit cut and bought the threshold. That part's kind of hard because you've got to cut an angle on it. I wanted to give you a project update because I know it's been a minute. There was a lot of kind of overlap stuff. Like, as you can tell here, if you've been following along, I added that whole section of the house. Pretty much doing some other things I've done before that you've already seen. So I opted just to get it done. We framed this out. If you remember, you can see the trench still here too, but the powers ran that way. And so I had to leave this spot open, and I decided to just do that. But this is much like the construction of everything else. Now, the project I'm working on today, got my drip edge there. I'm going to take that off and put it up, and then put my drip edge on, and then start on laying out some metal roof. So that'll be exciting. All right, I didn't film it, but I want to tell you what I've done here. I moved the front purlin out, or that's what I'm calling it, is a purlin. And then I put on drip edge. Well, I wasn't able to time lapse it, but this is about half of it that I've done so far. And I'm liking the way it looks. I'll take you up top and kind of show you. Here's the top. The way it stands is you clip in a sheet and kind of fold it that way. And then you can just massage it with your foot until it snaps in place and no one's there. Then I put 2 screws on every purlin. Now over here, I'm going to end up doing the same thing. This is a little bit more critical because of what it is. I want to show you how I'm doing my starter shingles. Oh, good Lord. So this is a finished product. So what I've done, I've got 3 tab shingles that I got with the rest of the stuff I bought. So I'm just going to use them. And you put your nail in this area. And then the shingle lays on top of that. And that tar strip holds it there so there's no, that first row has that adhesive barrier there, adhesive link. It is so bright and sunny out here, so it's hard to show you what I've got going, but here's the old roof. I'm going to show you a few little details. And so there's like 4 things I didn't have really the ability to show you in detail. One is how to do step flashing. The other one is these roof vents. The other one is this ridge cap, which I'm about to do. Got some flashing. I'm gonna have to kind of finesse it a little bit. It turned out pretty good. This took me probably, metal and all, maybe 25, 30 hours. Well, I decided that I'm gonna work on the front porch area now. And so this is a stack of 2x6s that are too short to do anything with. I think the longest one's like 6 foot something. And so I'm about to run all these one side, pick a good side, run it through the planer. Well, I'm going on to what I would say is phase 2 of this little project I'm doing here. I'm back at the house and I got everything planed up on one side. And what I'm doing now is I've got my dado blade. I'm putting a channel on both sides of the board so that I can use this hidden hardware. This stuff right here. Here's what they look like. I decided to do these sort of framing boards. So I got a 45 at the end. Do that on both sides. And the way I joined them, got this hidden hardware, this stuff right here. And it clamps down on it. I don't know if you can see. Maybe, maybe not. But I've been using that to hold it down. And when necessary, so I've been using a combination of these two techniques. Seems to be working pretty good. Well, it took me far too long, but here's the finished product. Well, not quite finished. I still got to go and sand a few spots that I've marked that are toe catchers. But it turned out looking pretty good. I wouldn't recommend that anybody do this because it was way too difficult. It worked, but it was just, you know, when you use the wrong thing, you kind of get mixed results. And this is one of those instances where it may have taken 2 to 3 times longer than it should have because I chose to be so anal about hiding the fastener. So I don't think that I would recommend it. Hey, thanks so much for checking out the progress on this project. If you're interested, I've got a whole playlist I'm going to link to right now on screen that goes through every detail. I mean, there's hours of footage of me fighting with this project. And so check that out if you're interested. Please, again, subscribe. Please like. I wanted to tell you kind of before I got out of here, but I am on track to be done with this whole project for about $35,000. And I am astounded and amazed and pumped by that. And so thanks so much for watching. Thank you for going on this journey with me.